Hi, I'm Stephen Ham from Archery Supplies, and today we want to look at setting up the new Drive NXT. Now, when you're going to set up a drive, you've got to think about how much money you're going to spend. And with this video, I was thinking, well, where do I go with stuff? Like, where do I go with an RS? Where do I go with the sight? Where do I go with arrows? Where do I go with the release aid? What stabilizers do I fit? Now, this is all going to get down to your budget, but I want to talk through my setup with this bow. Now, if money's tight, go for the cheap RS, go for a cheap sight, and go shoot, right? The difference is going to be minor. But for this video, what I want to do is I want to go back to 50 meters and shoot with this setup, and hopefully I'll shoot decent, and I don't want to spend a fortune, so I want to try and keep my budget low. So the first thing I'm going to look at is an RS. And I toyed with whether I stick with this biscuit style rest or whether I change. Now, the reason I'm going to change is because I'm going to shoot thin arrows, and if the arrow pushes down into the biscuit, you can shoot a low shot. Okay, so if I'm shooting normal 246 carbon arrows, the thicker carbons, the whisker biscuit will be fine, but a whisker biscuit will wear. And while it's the most popular RS on the market, which accounts for probably 95% of all our RS sales, I want to look at it something different. So now I'm just grabbing things off the shelf. Now, a ripcord RS like this is a drop away. Look, it's a good RS, and there's a whole bunch of RS behind me, the QADs, the trophy takers, all good RS. But the problem with that is the budget. So if I put a $200 RS on an $850 bow, I've probably already blown where this person wants to go with price. Because if you're going to fit expensive stuff to an $850 bow, chances are you would have spent more money on the bow to start off with. So I'm going to try and fit budget stuff to this bow. So my choices and what I'm thinking about with this is a drop away. And what I'm thinking is basically I want something to be reliable. So I don't want it to break. I want it to be bulletproof, right? So I suppose what I'm saying here, what I'm doing is I'm thinking out loud, but I'm going, well, what are most people going to do? Like, you've got things like the Timber Doodle, like this. Metal RS, made in America, really robust, about $100, right? Now, this is up to you. When you buy a bow and you buy the kit, look, whether you spend $50 more or $20 more, it comes to where you're trying to get with your budget. And most people are very specific. Like, I had a person today and they were like, I've got $150 for a kid's bow, and I'm like, well, you can buy a one with a complete kit for $250, or you can buy the plastic one for $150. Now, to me, there's no question, because for the one with $250 comes with 6 arrows, 6 carbon arrows, release aid, sight, arrow rest, blah blah blah. The one for $150 comes with nothing, and it's plastic, right? But for the today Christmas, you know, leading up to Christmas, everyone's buying the $150 one. So that's where I'm coming from for this review. Like, get some stuff. This is a basic drop away RS, about $50, right? It's made out of metal, it's durable, we're going to fit this. Now, fitting a drop away RS, it's important it's timed correctly, and we're going to sort of show you how we sort of set all this up in the video. But to me, I'm going to go for a $50 drop away. I'm not going to say I'm going to shoot any better with this than the Whisker Biscuit. What I'm saying is I'm less likely to shoot an arrow low, and it's not going to wear out. Where with some of the other RS, the QAD Hunter, it's going to be $85, an extra $35, so I'm going to try and save a bit of money with that. Now, on sight, the sight that comes with this is about a $30 sight. Look, it's fine, but for me, I was like, well, how much better sight can I get with a few extra bucks? So let's have a look at sight. Now, when it comes to a sight, they vary a lot in price. The sort of top of the line American sight, like your AccuTouch, is going to be $500. You're not going to be buying an $800 bow and fitting a $500 sight to it, right? Well, you might, because this is a good quality bow. But chances are you might, chances are you won't. Some people will, and they'll say, well, I'm going to buy good stuff now and I can just transfer it to a better bow when I upgrade. But I'm going to say, if you give up archery, you're going to take a huge hit on accessories, right? So, like Spot Hog, like, it's a fantastic sight. It'll last forever, right? And I say forever. So if it was my bow, even for my bow, I still think about price, right? But for my bow, for me shooting, like if I was to buy like a sight like this or the XL sight, it's going to last forever. In 10 years, I'm going to be using the same sight. So I'm really keen to upgrade the sight. But then again, I'm generally buying a more expensive bow. So for me, the sight I've got on this is a $30 sight. It's 5-pin, fairly basic. Like this sort of sight here, it's got more fiber optics, it's got micro adjustment, the bubble's going to be straight, it's about 50 bucks. With micro adjustment, better, the pins are enclosed. So for me, it's a $20 upgrade over the existing sight, and I just feel it's better. It's not a $200 sight. Yeah, look, you can go, look, true glows are going to be 150, there's going to be true glows at whatever. CB's a nice sight, but 50 bucks, right? So basically what I've got so far is $100 worth of accessories on an $850 bow, so I'm at $950. The next thing I want to fit is a peep sight. Now I don't want to fit a rubber peep sight because a rubber peep sight slows down the bow a bit and causes wear on the strings. And so why do you fit rubber peep sights in an archery shop, or if you're buying it, it lines up straight away, you don't have to worry about peep rotation. So rubber peep sight is going to be far more popular for a person starting out because it will just work. But the rubber will wear out, it slows the shot down, wears on the string. So for this, I want to fit just a normal peep sight. So let's just fit a peep sight. Okay, now when you're choosing a peep sight, the critical thing is to choose the right one. And which one's going to be right? It depends on the size of the aperture, how far away the string is from your eye. So it's very hard to choose. But you can take your best guess, and if the peep sight's too big or too small, if it's too big, it lets in more light. So I prefer the peep sight to be too big. If it's too small, then it lets in less light, and for hunting, I'd prefer to have a bigger aperture, more light and more vision. And with a smaller peep sight, let's say it rotates a little bit, you might be able to see what you're aiming at, and that's the worst thing in the world. So the peep sights I would like for this, I would like just a pretty standard peep. There's a whole bunch of companies who make them. You've got your hot shot peeps are nice, your Z38 from Pine Ridge, it's an aluminium peep sight. Like, it's a nice peep. Your G5 peeps, which come in colours. Especially do peep sights which are well worth considering, like this, because you can change the size of the aperture hole. Well worth considering, but for this I'm trying to keep under a budget. And for this peep, and then buy the aperture, you're going to add an extra, $20, $30 to the price of the overall kit. So while it's an advantage, I'm just going to go for something fairly standard. I'm not that worried about which brand I go with a peep sight. They all do pretty much the same thing, but I am interested in the size. So you'll see here on the Z38, it comes in 1/8, 3/16 and a quarter. I'm going to go for 3/16, which is that size hole there. Just because I wanted it to be bigger. I might get away with 1/8, but I'm happy for it to be bigger than smaller. So let's go for a 3/16 in one of these. Okay, so we've got the peep. So we're up to about 110 bucks worth of accessories so far. So one of the things you want to look at and think about is a stabilizer. So with the arrow rest and the sight, I'm not really going to pick up any extra accuracy than a normal sight and normal arrow rest, okay? It's just more that it's going to be a bit nicer for me to set up, a little bit nicer to shoot. I'm going to feel like I spent 20 bucks, which is the price of a takeaway meal for one person, and I've got a better product, is what I'm thinking in my mind. Now with the stabilizers, there's such a range. Now a stabilizer is going to improve your accuracy, okay, because it's putting weight out the front, which is going to stop you moving. Now what a stabilizer also does, it allows you to balance the bow. So I'm like, I know the drive balances slightly back, so I'll probably be able to get away with just a front stabilizer. Now in the ideal world, I would like a back stabilizer as well, so I can add more weight to the front and be more stable. But by adding a back stabilizer, I'm adding more price to the product, and then I've got to add a V-bar to the stabilizer. So I'm just talking rough numbers. For a bee stinger kit or a dead center kit, which has got the V-bars, the stabilizer, I'm up to about $350. I want to try and keep this price down because this is a budget setup, right? So I'm like, what do I go for? And when I was thinking about this, I was thinking, well, do I go for a $50 stabilizer? Do I go for a $100 stabilizer like a dead center? Now, I didn't know which way to go. I was confused. PSE's got a whole bunch of stabilizers. Dead center's got stabilizers. Bee stinger's got stabilizers. The Chinese have stabilizers. The Limb Saver. There's like a whole bunch of stabilizers to choose from. So what I want to do is I want to show you some that I'm considering. It's not taken away from all the other ones because there's just so many on the market. But I'm going to start with considering cheap stuff, okay? Because it's like, well, for an extra 20 bucks, am I getting something better or am I getting something worse? Now this came in yesterday. Now what I liked about this, it had the weights here, so you can change the weight distribution of the bow. It's got a Matthews like harmonic dampener thing here. Now it's carbon, which looked kind of nice. It comes in camo or black, and I think it was around $60. Now when you put this in, try not to strip the thread out on the riser. Quick disconnects are good. I'm not going to fit a quick disconnect, because when I shoot a bow, I generally leave it assembled. Now the thing I'm looking at is what's the balance. Now the balance looks pretty good with that, so I'd be kind of keen just to try this out and see what it feels like, because this makes my life simple. For $60, is the dead center better for $100 than this? Now I think the best way to do this is to go and shoot them and just try a couple and see what that feels like to shoot. So let's go and have a shot and see what they feel like. So I've done reviews before on stabilizers, and I really like the dead center stabilizer. It's going to retail for about $100, but we're going to start with the $60 one because I thought this one looked pretty cool. I've never shot it before, so we're just going to see kind of what it feels like, and we're going to compare four or three others to it, and from there that will be the thing. Now part of what I'm thinking too is maybe later down the track I want to fit a back stabilizer to it. So I'm really thinking about spending the extra $100 on the dead center stabilizer, because I know it's better, it's top of the range, and that way if I want to add more weights I can, and I can fit a back stabilizer to it later and it's not going to cost me anything. Where if I go for something like this, well yeah, you can fit it as a back stabilizer, but it's just not as good as something like the dead center as far as that's concerned. That feels pretty good. Now with that, the bow just feels a little bit better balanced in my hand. It felt good. Now the advantage with the dead center, you've got a bit of dampening stuff there, and you can add the weights to it. Now with me, I'd probably want a bit of weight to it to make me stable, but for this video we're just going to grab it straight out the pack and have a try. So tend to be nice and light. Now this one's at 8. Whether you fit a 10 or not, if you're going for a front and back, you generally fit slightly longer at the front, slightly shorter at the back. So a 10 and 8 or an 8 and 6. So that's got about the same balance, so I'm pretty happy with that just as a just as a stabilizer as far as what it feels like. I cannot feel any difference. You can see the other one's a little bit longer. So let's say this is 60 and let's say this is 90. 30 bucks. Adjustable weights. I've got weights I haven't added here. Now when you're buying a bow, it's very hard to go to the shop and say, well, look, what shall I do? Because the shop will probably want to throw whatever the expensive stuff is on the bow. Now this one's about a $40 stabilizer, maybe a $50, I think it's 40. So it's got some weights there, so you can change the weight. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got some sort of rubber there. I assume there's rubber in the center. It's probably around an 8-inch stabilizer. It's metal. Now the stabilizer that comes in our basic kit's like a $5 stabilizer. It's just a piece of rubber. It really does nothing. The balance on that's pretty good too. So the balance on both the others and this is pretty much the same. I cannot tell any difference at all. I can't tell any difference. Maybe that one felt better than the others. You can see this has got like a rubber thing at the end here. In tests I did before, it really improves the whole shock absorption if you got the rubber thing at the end. Now these are just new from PSE Recon, so it's only just, well, I haven't seen it before, I haven't shot it before, I haven't sold any. This is 10 inches long, 5.3 ounces, 3 disc weights included. My problem with these and some of the other ones is adding weights. The thing I like about the Dead Center is if I want to add weights, they sell them. They sell them in all different weights, and they sell rubber things to dampen the shock out. Now you may never buy the bits, right? You may just shoot the stabilizer as is and just go, look, I'm happy with it. So this has got rubber there at the end, the 3 weights there. Now in my past experience, it's always better to have rubber than the weight. It seems to absorb more shock. So I'm going to guess, this looks like a nice quality stabilizer. See the carbon finish. I'm going to guess this is not going to be as good as the other ones I've shot. Let's just check the balance. Balance is pretty good. So all of them have pretty much the same balance. They kind of balance this thing up, the drive up perfectly. And the drive was pretty good as far as shock. So I can feel more vibration with this stabilizer, so this stabilizer is out of the equation. I'm thinking, which way do I go? So my thinking process about this is like, maybe even the cheapest of the stabilizers was best as far as vibration. So I'm going to say this might have been the best stabilizer as far as vibration. I think it's because of that rubber thing at the end. I think I like the look of this. It just looked cool because it was chunky. This is very efficient. This works. Probably 20 bucks difference in price. This is the dead center, and you might say, well, you're the dead center distributor, so you're pushing dead center. Not really. I'm just like, this is pretty good, and I'm not saying it's any better than these, but what I'm thinking about is, well, if I've got this and then I want to fit a back stabilizer to it, I can buy the V-bar and just add one of these, or fit a cheap V-bar on the back. Or if I want to add more weights, they sell the weights to it. So the more weight you have on your bow out here, and the further it is away from your bow, the more stable you'll be. So with my target setup, I think I have about 18 ounces, so it's 18 discs of this, and it's at about 30 inches away from my riser. Now this hunting one has 2. So obviously I could run, let's just say 10 ounces, let's go crazy, 10 ounces at the front. But if I run 10 ounces at the front, then I need to run a back stabilizer. So part of what I'm thinking is this comes with 4 ounces of weight. Let's see how it undoes. See how long the thread is? So that's how much weight you can put on. I've got a soft spot for dead center. I've been shooting them for quite a number of years now, and they've just been really good. And let's just add all 4. They've just been really good, and I've really had no problems. And I like having no problems with anything. So this is 4 ounces at the front. Now, if I had a 10 inch, would I prefer 10? The difference between 10 and 8 is the 10 will give you a little bit more stability than an 8, but it's not much. You're not going to notice it, and you just add more weight here and it's going to be fine. So let's just try this with the 4. Now I'm going to say that cheaper stabilizer with that rubber thing in the middle is pretty good as far as vibration. Dead Center do sell a suppression system where you put it between the stabilizer and the weights. It's called an SRS. Something about, I assume, something stabilizer reduction system. Pretty happy with that. So we're happy with 4 ounces at the front. And what I find interesting is, like, you know, you've got so many options with sights, you've got so many options with RRS, and I'm not really caring about them because I'm like, it doesn't really make that much difference. And yes, it's the same case with the stabilizers. It's just with the stabilizer, I'm thinking, well, if I go to fit the back one, it's the best, and it's the best, and it's only $50 more. Only. I'm going to say the vibration is probably better on the cheaper stabilizer than the Dead Center by a little bit. But I like the ability to add these weights, and I think I'm going to be a little bit more stable with the weights. So I like the idea of adding more weight, and that bow to me is pretty, you can just see, it's pretty well balanced now. When I have customers, I'm selling them stuff, I'm like, oh, do you want to spend an extra $50 and go for this or that? And that's exactly what I'm doing this video for. I'm going to go with the dead center. So I've spent about $100 on a sight rest, $100 on a stabilizer. Let me just I'm like, versus $50 on a stabilizer. Now I'm going to go for $100 arrows, okay? So because I think they are going to be fine. I have no issues with the cheaper. That's me trying to get the weights undone. I'm guessing these are undone through through this screw here. I don't know. Balance is pretty good. So this is like a $50 stabilizer or $45 stabilizer versus a maybe a $90 stabilizer from dead center. I'm a pain because I can't decide. This feels lighter. Doesn't feel as light as the dead center. I just think it looks better. It looks more chunky, and like these weights come off easy. And then part of me is thinking, well, if I spend $50 and this all falls apart, I've just blown $50. So it's the standard thread. So, you know, worst case scenario, you can add weights to this. Now, I've had issues with rubbers, this harmonic dampener system, the rubber wearing out. Is that the way? Perishing. Well, you can buy another rubber, I suppose. Rubbers are not cheap. Just want to have a shot with this because I like the look of this as far as a stabilizer is concerned. Look, they're all pretty good. And that's what it's like when you're choosing something. Like, do I want to choose this one or do I want to choose the cheaper one? Let me leave that there and let's fit a peep. Because I really can't make up my mind. Let's fit a peep. Let's fit the arrow rest and fit a sight. And we'll think about which stabilizer we go for. Okay, so when you're fitting a peep, people say, can I use a portable bow press? Do I need a big bow press like this? You kind of can use a portable bow press, just be careful. Now, when you press a bow, don't over press it, because that's when most of the damage occurs. Because you can wind this in and put a whole heap of pressure on these limbs and cause the limbs to splinter. And they splinter in the belly, so little fibers will lift. Doesn't stop you shooting the limbs, they've just splintered. So you've got thousands of bits of fiber on the limb. So what I do when I'm fitting the peep is I'm just applying a bit of tension. I'm waiting for this. You can see there, right? It's kind of loose. I'm trying now to pull the strands apart. I put less tension on this than what would be required there. Than if I was to draw the bow back. You never want it to be like, when I press a bow, like you can see I can't get the string off the cams. I kind of pull the string off the cam. So never over press the bow. I cannot tell you the variance in damages I get from different locations. And one shop goes, "You always talk about me in the video." I was like, "No, I don't. It's just I have one shop and he used to just break limbs, and this is years ago, and finally he said to me, he goes, it was the bow press that was doing it. He had a homemade bow press that he made, and he goes, "Oh, I'm really sorry," like he did like a whole bunch of limbs. And I'm like, yeah, well, I don't know what he was doing, but just don't overpress it. That's the key. Don't overpress the bow. If you can, wind the pressure down on the bow. Now, when you're fitting a peep sight to the bow, you've got to find the position of the peep sight. So this takes a little bit of time, and then you've got to rotate the peep so it sits. So I'm going to take this string off now. Now the height of the peep sight is going to be different for each archer, depending on how big you are, your draw length, and where you anchor on your face. So generally, if you can see in my video, my arrow will be sort of under here. Some people, their arrows are up here, so the peep sight will be closer. That affects how far you can shoot. Now I'm just going to take off the pressure a bit. I'm going to move that down a bit. I'm just guessing. Ideally, I could measure this and say, well, it's 6 and almost a quarter inches, a little bit over 6 1/4. Now, see, when I let this down, you can see the peeps rotating on the string, and it's coming back around now. That's pretty good. Looks like it's in the perfect position. But you can see the D loop is rotated. So I'm just going to take this off the bow press. When you let it down, just do it gently. Like, I haven't taken any strings off this bow, so I can do it pretty quick. But you can see the peep is in the perfect position, but you can see the D loop is now downward. So what I'm going to do with the D loop is move it back to the position, like that. Now with this bow, I can shoot this bow with the peep sight not tied in, I think. I set up a gearhead bow the other day for a customer. I didn't tie the peep in, and he shot him, the peep sight shot out. I was like, that doesn't normally happen. Okay, so when I try a peep sight height, I always put an arrow in the bow, because if you were to shoot the release by mistake and there's no arrow in, you blow up your bow. So I always go down to the target range. I put an arrow in, and we go and try it. So let's just see kind of how it sits. Now I'm shooting a thumb release aid here, or a back tension. And that's going to get me to the next part of the question: which release aid am I going to buy for this kit? And we're going to get to that, but I'm not going to be buying an expensive one like this, because that's going to blow the budget. So, but I want quality, because this is a quality bow, and I'm looking to buy as much accuracy as I can, bang for the buck. Now, I still haven't decided on the stabilizer, but maybe that'll come down to the last. So let's just try the height. Geez, that looks good. Let's just take the shot. You can see the peep sight sort of stayed in there. Now you can see the peep. You can see the peep. The peep is not completely square. Now when I drew it back, it did twist a little bit, but it's not square. This string's got virtually no peep rotation. So got a couple of options here. When I tie this in, I could tie it and create some twists in the when I'm tying it in, if that makes sense. So when I tie it in the direction of this to pull this peep back around. Otherwise, I put it in the bow press and twist the string like half a turn on the bottom to line this up. I think what I'll do is I'll tie the peep in. Now I haven't even tied the peep in my Super. I've had it for over a year. I think I'll just tie this peep in and see if I can get that to straighten up a bit. Otherwise, once again, if you've got a portable bow press or a bow press at home, do it at the bottom and, you know, just half a turn, put it back on, shoot it and try it. If it's anything over half a turn out, then just turn the peep sight around in the string. But you can see it's pretty close to being spot on. So let's just try and fix that. Peep sight 3/16. What we're seeing now is if it's all straight. and you can see I've only tied it in, I haven't tied in the top. Now on arrows, the arrows I'm shooting are Victory VAPs, and they've been extremely reliable for me. I've been shooting for about 3 years, still using the same set I've always used. And you can say you're the Victory distributor. Yes, I'm also the Gold Tip distributor. I'm also a whole bunch of other people's distributors. These arrows have just lasted me. I don't get given them. I've got to pay for them. I pay full type price odds. They've just been really reliable for me. They're almost... And I Robin Hood the back of these arrows all the time, and I've had no back damage, no back arrow damage. So I've replaced pins, but none of the carbon's been damaged. So I'm very, very happy with them. So let's just... Oh, that Peep looks like spot on. It is, it's exactly spot on. It's the right size. Now what this does with the Peep Sight, it gives me confidence. And it gives me confidence that when I look, everything's just going to be right, and I'm just, my hand feels in a good position. It just feels good. So I think what I'll do is I'll just tie a small one on the front, and I'll actually try and pull it around a little bit more, and then we'll apply the drop away rest. Okay, so with fitting the drop away rest, it comes with this thing. This is called a cable tie, so it screws onto the bottom cable. Not a huge fan of these. They make life simple. They just tie on with a simple Allen key. But to me, they're kind of bulky, and I'm like, yeah, not a huge fan. There's a whole bunch of different ways to tie on drop away RRS. You can just tie it onto the string. You can tie it through the string. Look, do it which way you feel comfortable. I'm a huge fan on keep it simple, but I'm just not liking, a chunk of plastic tied to fiber and materials. Not that I've ever had a problem, I haven't. Now this thing here, this is a spacer on your RRS if you need to space it. Now this RRS has got micro adjustment up and down and left and right, so it makes it easy for you. Well, it makes it easier to fit the rest. It's obviously not as simple as a whisker biscuit to fit. It takes longer. It's probably going to take me 10 minutes to fit this rest to the bow, but I do like this bow. It's not a cheap bow, and there's nothing wrong with the whisker biscuit. It's just, I'm just thinking that, well, the drop away is going to, I don't want a blade, which is what most target shooters will have, because it's not going to be as easy to pull back with a hunting setup, and even in the wind it's not going to be that kind of simple to shoot. Now when I fit this to the bow, I lock it to the back of the riser here, so you can see it's flat here, and I just lock that straight up to the riser. It stops it moving. Now when I adjust the left and right, I want to go straight down the center of this grip here. So when I look straight down the center of the riser, I want that RRS straight down the center of the grip. That simple. Now I also want the arrow straight in the middle of that plunger button, so that's what I got to check now. And to get that, I just put the arrow on the string, and I want it through the center. You can see here it's miles down. Now I should have fitted the rest first and the D-loop first, because you can see that's down. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this rest up. And you can see the other problem I've got here. See how it's touching on the riser, so the arrow is just kind of resting here. So I'd need a bit of foam, and it comes with foam here. I would want something else on there to kind of stop it touching the riser. So it's just got a locking thing on the side here. pretty good. So when it's fully activated, now you can put a T-square on that, but it looks to me that that's exactly through the plunger button. Through there, and I'm feeling pretty confident with that. So now all I need to do is time this so it comes up at maximum. Now one of these cables is moving up and one's moving down. This cable here is moving down, so this one here is moving down. And how do I know that? Because it's tracking on the cam, so it's going to wrap itself around the cam as you draw this bow back. So this is the cable here. This one here is the one I need to attach it to. Now you've got a couple of options. One's to tie it on like a Peep Sight, so you just basically tie it and do this kind of knot to the outside, and I'll often do that. The other one would be to thread it through the middle of the cable and then tie a knot above it and tie a knot below it, and then you burn off the excess of this, so it kind of pulls through the string. So it pulls through the string, and you've got the two little things above it, so you can use that to adjust it. But you need a bow press to do that. Maybe we'll do that for this. I normally like the other way where I just tie it. Maybe we'll do the way I normally do it, because it's probably different to what most people do. Some people will apply a spring to this so it pulls it under tension, which is kind of easier, but then you need a spring. It doesn't come with a spring. It comes with a bit of foam. This is the bit I don't like. So when I'm pulling back the bow, there's nothing here, it's just touching there. And I'm like you can put that foam there, but it's pretty average. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm going to show you what I like. This is what I really like, and it's probably made by a few companies. You attach it to the riser. I'm trying to think. Pretty much most companies who make drop away rests will have something like this. It sticks on the riser, that way it basically, yeah, sticks on the riser, and you can see it's got the white stuff, but that just comes off with a so I'm going to stick this to the riser. Now the price for a bit of rubber like this, $15, really expensive, but to me, I don't like this arrow just wobbling around like this. And see, to me that's just so much better. And then when I draw it back, it sits like that, and it's got clearance from the side. So for me, that's what I like. It's like simple, extra $15. So there's a few on the market. Otherwise you're just using a bit of rubber, or you can build it up yourself using various things there. But $15. Okay, so the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to use the same BCY thread, and I'm going to lie this against this cable. I'm just going to serve straight on top of it. I'm not going to know the length that I need. We're going to work that out later. So I'm just going to do probably that much serving, so it's a little bit tight, and then I can make the adjustment. Right, so I've started here. You can see the serving here. Now this is way too tight. So if I was to draw this back, and I'm not, let's just go to the shooting range so I don't dry fire the bow. Big problem with drop away RRS, if you change your draw length, you've got to adjust this here. So I'm going to just pull this up. So you can see right now it's got the ability to be able to move this, because it's firm, but it's not too firm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the arrow in. So again, you don't want to dry fire your bow. Bear in mind, drop away, change the draw length, you've got to change the drop away as far as the cables. Now what I like about this, as I'm drawing this back, this is pulling against it and setting itself to the size I need, and I really like that. So I'm just going to put these around here so it doesn't get in the cam. Kind of feel like I'm being a bit paranoid, but I'm going to just wrap that around here and just watch this here. We're just going to put that over there. So as I draw this back, you don't want to have it too tight and you don't want to have it too loose, because if it's too loose, this is going to put, it's not going to move up as you pull it back. You can see the arrows increasing here. I'm just going to hit full stop just there. So this arrow rest is at full position right now. So all I've got to do is I've got to tie this on. I've got to finish tying this on so it will not move. That just means doing a whole bunch more knots down here so it's tied on in the correct position. Now when you do the drop away, like if you did it up here and it moves down, I like it down here, so when it's pulling it's like, you know, straight down. All personal preference, I don't think it makes any difference. So let's just finish tying that on, then we'll have a shot, fit the sight and make a decision on the stabilizer, and then we'll be able to take it out, shoot at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 meters and see how well I shoot. Okay, so I've tied this down further, you can see here. Now what I've done is I've cut the string off here and I've fluffed the end here, so I'm hoping you can see that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to burn this end off so it's sealed and it's got like a bubble there. Again, when you're burning off the ends, be really careful about the string. You don't want to touch in the string when you burn it, because otherwise you're going to bugger up the string. So now what I want to do is I want to test it. Now you can do this on a draw board, on a bow press, but I think for me I'll just draw this bow back slowly, just make sure it's coming fully up, fully activated. Now with this, you could probably still move it, but it's very, very tight. So if you like want to, let's say you want to change draw length by ½ an inch short, forward or back, you could probably move that, but it requires a fair bit of force to do that, and that's ideal. So with that, let's have a shot. The thing I don't like is this like string kind of pulling down on my hand, but I do like the simplicity of Whisker Biscuit, and some people go, well, I'll put a better quality Whisker Biscuit on. Look, that's just up to you. I'm just trying to build like a hunting setup or a recreational setup that's affordable and, you know, a little bit above the basic stuff that you can have good accuracy with at a budget price still. There. Perfect. I'm pretty happy with that. Right, so we've got arrows. I'm happy with $100 carbon arrows. They're going to be fine. They're going to shoot great. Release aid is a question for me, and I want to talk through that with you. Stabilizers. I'll tell you why I'm thinking this, right? I'm thinking because when I go for, I don't know whether I want to go for a back stabilizer, like the dead center yet, because I don't know what I'm doing. If I'm going to shoot like ABA, like hunting, I'm not allowed to have a back stabilizer. I'm only allowed to have the front stabilizer for the hunting class. I'm not restricted by weights there, but this felt pretty good, and I felt like I had less shock with this stabilizer. So then if I feel like I'm going to go with a full stabilizer set, it's going to be $300. So I'm thinking I'll just go cheap, because this felt good. It probably felt the best of the stabilizers. I really can't feel any vibration with that stabilizer on there. It probably felt the best of the stabilizer at the budget price. So I've saved myself like $60 or $50 over the dead center. Now compared to really like that, but it's like, oh, I can't, I feel like this is better with this vibration thing on the end. So, and since this is cheaper, I'm going to go with this one. I like the other one better. I really like the dead center because it's a product I'm going to keep because it's top end. With this, I may just basically throw it away and it's not going to be worth anything. But I may never go to the back stabilizer. I may never go to a back one. So I'm just going to put the cheaper one on at the moment because I think it's good enough. I cannot tell the difference. So with that, let's talk about releases. So when we're talking releases, you think the stabilizers are hard. You've got so many brands of releases. You've got so many to choose from. You've got wrist, you've got thumb, you've got back tension. You've got all different types of wrist releases and it's really confusing. So like it makes the stabilizers look easy. But the rule of thumb is like the basic kits are going to come with a $30, $40 release and they're going to be pretty average. They're going to work, but they're going to be average. So I think with this is a better level bow. So I'm thinking let's go for a better level release aid. Now the difference between let's say 100 and 150 is going to be minor, but I'm not going to go for a thumb because the thumb release aids are going to be up on the $200 mark, right? So if you're going to make a decision to go for thumb, I figure that's a decision you've made to go for better stuff. You're probably going to be going for better stabilizers then and be upgrading your stuff. But that's going to be a step further down in your archery career. This is not going to be the first thing first week. So we're going to go for a wrist. Now, this is the Stinger NXT, one of the most popular release aids on the market. Really simple. The way it works is easy. I really like it. It's got a buckle strap system. Scott have the caliper here, which I really like. Prices are similar. Look, B3's probably got something similar as well, which is here, the King. Now I haven't shot the King yet. I suppose what I'm looking at is I'm trying to get a release at around the $100, which is a good quality release ad that you're probably going to keep. And so this has got adjustment here. It's got a small head. Wow, that's... See how small this head is compared to the Stinger and the Scott caliper. Like when you go to an archery shop, it's got to blow you away with the amount of choice. It really kind of does your head in about how much there is to choose from, even inside the one brand. So I suppose what I'm going to go for I don't know what I'm going to go for. Like, it must be so hard to walk in an archery shop and say I want to buy an archery setup, because it's like I've got 101 choices to make. I don't even want to make the choices. I just want to go and shoot a bow. Stinger, nice and simple, easy. Wrist strap. Look, let's go and have a shot with this. I can't remember shooting it, to be honest. I know I have shot it. I just know that the former state champion of South Australia shot one of these. So he won his championship shooting a Stinger release, $70 release aid. Beat everyone shooting their $300 release aids. Had it for years. The buckles are nice. It's well made. Seems to be easy. Let's go and have a shot with this and see if I'm happy with this. Look how much smaller that is than this. I mean, I kind of feel like I want to know more about all the different release aids. I feel like I want to just try them all. But that's not the purpose of this video. The purpose is to put together a kit and go shoot it. So I'm just feeling like this is one of the most popular quality release aids. It's a step up from the basic kits. It's quality. You're not going to have any problems. I think it's pretty easy, so let's go shoot. Obviously when I do these videos, I'll probably not shoot as well with the Stinger as I will my own release 8, because it's my release I've been shooting for a couple of years now. I'm just familiar with it. But what I'm trying to do is a video that a beginner buying a kit would go, yeah, look, this is what to expect. It's a kit up from the basic level. That's what to expect with this bow. And so the release 8's easy to load. It opens and closes, which is nice. It's just easy. Easy's good. Finger behind the trigger. Let's just... yeah, I'm happy with the Stinger. It's easy to load, easy to shoot. My finger's about there. It feels comfortable. A lot of release 8s I've tested in the past with wrist have not been easy for me to shoot. They've been hard for me to load, hard for me to shoot. Now I'm going to say probably the Scott caliper is a little bit more sensitive, and I'd probably prefer to go for the Scott caliper than the true ball, and true ball is probably going to say, well, you lose your distributorship, Stephen. But what I really like about this true ball is that angle on the trigger. It's like curved, and my finger just fits in nice and simple. And I like this release 8. It's a little bit cheaper than the Scott. It's the biggest selling release 8 for a reason. But I would like that more fine shooting, but I like that curve on the trigger. Crunch. I'm happy with that release 8. I'm happy with the choice of the stabilizer. I'm happy with the choice of the rest. I'll fit this. Now you can see the peep is twisting a little bit. You can fix that up with a little bit of D-loop, but I think for me, with a new string and fitting a new peep, sometimes it'll take some while to straighten up. So you can see it's probably not coming around as much as I want it to. Yeah, look, I'm happy with this release 8. It's comfortable. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a twist on this string to pull the peep straighter, fit the sight, and then we'll do another video to show you the outcome of this kit at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 meters, and see how well I shoot with it with this release 8 and this sort of setup. I'm just going to shoot my normally Victory arrows, but in other videos, like I've shown you comparisons on $100 arrows versus the Victory arrows. Look, they're all pretty good, so I'm not going to even bother that there's going to be a difference in the arrows, because there's not. So all up, the price for this kind of kit would be $850 for the bow, $100 worth of stuff there. Let's say roughly 50 here, so there's 150. Probably 70 here. That's about 220. Set of arrows, $100. 300 odd dollars. So 1150-ish. Let's say call it 1200. 12 arrows, a full setup, $1,200. I think I should shoot well with the $1,200 setup. So I'm feeling pretty confident with that. Now, what we're also going to do is when we shoot this, we're going to test the stabilizer there versus there to see if I can pick any difference. That's just because I want to sort of test that. But I'm feeling good, so let's just fit the sight, and in the next video you'll see how I shoot with this setup. I'm Stephen Hammond with Archery Supplies. I'm going to say, when you go to a shop and it's just blowing your head about what to buy, because it does my head when I buy stuff like whether I should be buying this or that or this or that, just keep life simple. You know, go, look, I'm happy with this stabilizer. Look, it's cheap, it's affordable, it will probably do me forever. Would have I been better buying the dead center? Look, maybe, and I can give you 100 reasons why to buy the dead center over this stabilizer, but I could do that with the rest. I can tell you to buy a $200 rest, I can tell you to buy a $200 sight, which is all good if you've been shooting for 2 years. But if you're a beginner and you're just starting out, which is probably the case if you're buying a drive, just get started. Go and shoot it, have fun, enjoy. And then if you're going to fit a better rest, you're going to fit a better stabilizer, you'll know the difference and you'll be able to feel it and go, oh look, I like the ability to be able to tune, or I like the ability to be able to do this, I like the like this is a great release to get started on. But if you choose another one, like you choose the Scott Caliper, or you choose the Rhino, or the Ghost, or the Execution, or you choose I choose one of the other ones, you will know why you choose it, because you will know this. You'll be like, I've shot this, I'm choosing the other one because of, and you'll probably still have this one as a backup, or you'll give this one to your mate to try, or you know, the kids will shoot this. It will still be good in 10 years time, is my point. So with that, I'm going to fit the sight, and then we're going to do a video on shooting this at distance. So just have fun with the shooting. Don't worry too much about the bits you put on your bow, is what I'm getting at, because it will not make much difference. Like the peep will not make that much difference versus not having a peep. Just go shoot, have fun, and then sort of see where it takes you, see where your archery takes you. If you're shooting all the time, you might start shooting competitions, and that will lead you down a path. Maybe target, you might want to shoot target with this bow, you might want to shoot ABA, you might want to go hunting. That will lead you down a path. You might want a bow quiver. If you fit a bow quiver, it will change the balance, then you'll need a side stabilizer. It will just go shoot, see what happens. You might go for a field quiver, you might go for a hunting quiver. It will get started and see what happens. Thanks for watching. Bye.